There's a gentleman that you see his face on the screen, and there's a gentleman that's going to present him. That it's a really beautiful story. He's Peonies White Chocolate. He's the CEO of Troop 21 and the COO of Troop 21 and Associates, and my friend and my brother, and I love him. His name is Kirk Dixon. He's going to present our Lifetime Achievement Award. Kirk, come on up.
Sir. Hello, good evening. Hey, I've got a story to tell you. It's a story about a man, a good man. A story about a man who made a difference in his life. I'm going to start with a few highlights of Jimmy's athletic career. Jimmy went to the University of Nebraska, Omaha. He was a New Jersey kid. He wasn't just a Jersey kid, he was all Mr. New Jersey in 3 sports. Set an amazing number of records. He was picked up by Nebraska. Back in those days, in 68, 69, there were 2 drafts for the AFC and the NFC. He was drafted by Vince Lombardi, the Green Bay Packers, and by the Jets. But he chose the Jets because he was from Jersey. And as you can see, what's unique is he picked the right time. Played with Joe Namath. It was the 69 Jets. And so Paul Hornung from Green Bay greeted Jimmy. And he got to play with Namath, and that was a team that many considered changed the game of football. When Jimmy left the Jets, they hired him in the front office. They hired him in the front office after he blew out his knee, and for 3 years he served in recruitment for HBCU talent. And that's where he fell in love with human resources. While he was there with the Jets, they paid for, and he went back to school for his master's at Western Michigan University. So he had a bachelor's degree in library science and a business degree from Western Michigan. And then he joined a company called Gannett, which had yet to launch USA Today. Jimmy was a part of hiring the talent that launched USA Today. I met Jimmy at Reebok, 1995. At that time, Reebok was known as a women's fitness brand. It's still on record as going from 0 to $1 billion faster within 10 years than any other U.S. company. And when Jimmy came in, he was hired with a group of athletes that's intention was to put Reebok on the field. Today, it's hard not to think about teams and licensing and Reebok, but back in the day, that just wasn't so. Jimmy's career, Jimmy's presence at Reebok is what helped do that. And in addition, it wasn't enough just that Jimmy was on the field. He was the one who brought in Jay-Z, DMX, and helped move the brand into hip-hop. After Jimmy left Reebok, he went to Vancouver, Canada, with a brand that many know today, but they didn't know at the time, Lululemon Athletica. Jimmy was brought up with a team of 5. There were 40 stores in Canada. Canada had a reputation for not being successful and moving any retailer south of the border or across the world. And Jimmy had developed a reputation, and so he was the executive vice president of human resources and started to bring in the talent and bring in the systems and the discipline to scale that brand. And Jimmy made sure that the first store in New York was successful, the second in Beverly Hills. It went to Asia, and today Lululemon is a great stock to buy and known for stretchy pants. This may be one of the most significant things that I learned about my friend. When he was at Gannett, when he was at Reebok, when he was at Lululemon, he was very concerned about representation in the boardroom. It just wasn't there. And he said, how can I be a cause in the matter? What can I do? Jimmy went out and found every senior African American and person of color that had a position of substance, and he had them join. He co-founded a nonprofit organization called the ELC, the Executive Leadership Council. Today, this arguably is the most influential and powerful African American organization in the world, because it takes 2 qualifications to qualify. You've got to either be a CEO or a president and African American. Jimmy started that. When he retired from Reebok with a bunch of stock based off of his success, instead of sitting on the sidelines and enjoying it, he went to Africa for 2 years to fight AIDS in Lethesco with the Clinton Foundation at his expense. And when he came back, He was tapped on the shoulder to help Howard University with a very difficult transition, and that was over 400 faculty members who were in their 70s and 80s had yet to announce their retirement date. That's very challenging for any university that has to create curriculums and syllabuses. They needed to know the dates. By this time, Jimmy was a very experienced human resource professional, much more known for his HR work than his work on the field. And so Howard hired him to basically implement a faculty phased retirement program and recognition program to make sure that those who retired from Howard did so with the type of recognition, acknowledgement, and esteem that they deserved and earned. The P&E, Troop 21, and Big Shoulders. Jimmy was, as Guy mentioned, one of the early influencers in supporting Guy when he was still at the league, and Jimmy was at Reebok. He was the first sponsor of the very first P&E 20 years ago. A few of his college teammates. Marlon Briscoe, first African-American quarterback ever drafted by the NFL. He eventually was traded to the Miami Dolphins. He was a split in there, and they're still the only undefeated team in the NFL, 72 Dolphins. If you look at the bottom corner there, you see his son, Jimmy Jr., and the two African-American girls there. He found them when they were 4 years old in Lethesco, Africa, he and his wife, Janet. They couldn't speak English. They didn't have a mom, a dad, and they were subject to many of the trials and challenges that were going on in the country. I don't know who does this, but Jimmy and Janet did. They brought them home. They lived with them as their own. And today, well, their undergraduate degree, straight A's, got a scholarship to get their MBAs. They're married, have kids, families, and are just extraordinary human beings. And on the bottom left, Jimmy's sister had challenging growing up. They adopted Samaya. Samaya just completed her PhD out on the West Coast in California. So in addition to professionally making a difference, Jimmy's impact personally was just phenomenal. I can only tell you, I want to end with something personal for me. I met Jimmy in 1995. I still was laced with stereotypes and biases as a white guy in corporate America, the first 25 years of my life. Jimmy Jones changed my life, and he was, for me, the father that I never had. He taught me the definition of unconditional love. When Jimmy looked at me, it didn't matter whether I deserved the credit or not. He made me feel like I was the most important person on earth, and I can never repay him for that. So we're here to honor every year at the P&E. Guy generously honors, in the spirit of the P&E, someone whose price of admission was you played in the NFL. You earned that right. But we always honor somebody who spent as much time and had as much excellence dedicated to life off the field. And this year it's Jimmy Jones. Jimmy is still alive, by the way. He's up in Morristown, New Jersey, but he was diagnosed 2 years ago with pancreatic cancer and is dealing with that disease, so he couldn't be here tonight. But I thank you for your time, your attention, and us recognizing an extraordinary individual, my friend, Jimmy Jones.